Thank Friday, it's football. I'm Ross. Thanks for joining me. I've got some guys here willing to look back at Matchweek 34 for us, and they are Bob Holmes. Hello, Bob.
Hi, everybody. Interesting week.
Interesting week indeed. Kam Raslan is also here. Hello, Kam.
Hi there, Ross. Hi.
And Craig Morraies, as usual, on a Friday.
Hi, guys. How you doing?
Guys, you can follow us on social media, on Facebook and on Instagram. It's BFM Football. Also, please subscribe to our YouTube channel, TFIF on video, for extra content. Right, let's start with that. Liverpool win then. Brighton 1, Liverpool 3. Bob, Liverpool continue in their relentless pursuit for Man City's 100 points, the Premier League record. It's just a matter of time, and they're back to meaning business, aren't they?
Yeah, it wasn't that impressive. I mean, they were gifted 2 early goals, and I thought Brighton did well afterwards. They could have even got a draw with a bit more precise finishing. Not Liverpool's greatest performance, but it's enough. And now I think they must be odds on to get the 100 points, if not more, because they haven't got that difficult a program. They haven't got any distractions. The only thing is that they might be missing Jordan Henderson, who there's talk that he might even miss the start of next season, whenever that is. Shouldn't be too long away, I suppose, but got a bit of a serious injury in that game, and they'll miss him. I didn't think I'd say that a couple of years ago, but he's some people's footballer of the year, you know. Some of the writers have admitted they've voted for him. Yeah. Such has been his improvement. Inspirational leader, yeah. Again, never thought I'd say that.
No.
But he has changed.
Yeah, Jordan Henderson never thought he'd hear it from anyone. Let's be honest. No, but Craig, serious note, Liverpool's midfield, it was a game where Naby Keita stood out. I mean, he was bought for a lot of money. There was an injury, but he looks like he could fit into that Liverpool midfield, yeah?
Yeah, I think that's been the big thing, actually. They bought him for 50-odd million, if I'm not mistaken. And, you know, since he signed, you know, that has been the case of his Liverpool career. He's always been injured. He's never had a run of games. Couple that with the fact that, like Bob said, you know, I think the improvement of Jordan Henderson, I think has made it, you know, has changed things as well. Wijnaldum has been playing really well. Fabinho has come into it a bit. So, you know, it's a combination of things, you know, staying fit, getting a run of games in, and at the same time, you know, trying to push these players out of the way. But, you know, what he does offer is a lot of energy in that midfield that, you know, that you probably wouldn't get from certain players. And he's really box to box. You know, he's good on the ball. He's always looking forward. You know, he's not your defensive midfielder. You know, he likes getting to the box, getting to areas. And you saw a really good performance. Just going on getting to that 100-point mark, you know, they still got to play Chelsea and Arsenal. You know, not easy games. They still got to play them. So, you know, I do think they'll get it. But, you know, there's a couple of tough games in there, you know, towards the end of the season. But it was a good performance. I thought Brighton played very well. I thought they're actually unlucky because like Bob said, you know, a couple of mistakes gifted Liverpool two early goals. But, you know, after that, Lamperty was really good in there. McAllister, I thought, had a decent game. And Trossard as well.
Kam, Brighton, thanks to their form since the restart, well, they're safe. And that's a credit to Graham Potter. But the kind of football they play, it's reminiscent to the Berlin sides you admire so much.
You know, people saying, we've all said, you know, they were unlucky, but poor old Brighton. The first 10 minutes and the game's over, and they did play well after that. Yeah. But their kind of style of play is always going to invite disaster from really good teams, especially teams with the speed that the Liverpool attack has. So they would be having to always be wanting to pick up points against the lesser teams, probably going to get demolished by the bigger teams. I don't know. Is it a bit naive the way they play?
Yeah, I think, Graham Potter was brought in, to change that style. Under Chris Hughton, it was, okay, we'll defend and make it difficult for people and try and nick a goal. I think with Graham Potter, he's come in, he's a young manager, he's very, very talented, as we've seen so far. And he likes his teams to play a certain way, And with that, if you can't keep the ball well, if you're trying to play out from the back, then you are going to get in trouble with teams that press you. And that's exactly what happened here, So I think Cam's right, actually, against teams with a bit more quality, it's going to be difficult for them. But I think, outside the top six, maybe 7 onwards, you'll always fancy them to get a point somewhere.
Yeah, well, sorry, Bob.
I was just going to say it'll be interesting to see how they set up against Man City, who they've got next at home.
It's a tough old fixture list for them, isn't it? Man United, Liverpool and City.
That's why it was essential that they got a few points in the first couple of games, which they did, to give them that cushion. And they seem to be playing before their rivals. So psychologically, it also helped having that lead. But it still won't be by a big margin if they do survive. I think they will, but it won't be they won't be able to relax until the last game.
Yeah.
All right, Man City 5, Newcastle United 0. Gabriel Jesus ended his 9-game goal drought, converting David Silva's cutback. David Silva was absolutely superb. Cam, it was a 5-0 win for Newcastle. But if you look at the seasons, if you look at the table, right, Man City have lost more games than Arsenal and Man United. They've had 9 defeats this season, and they're chasing Liverpool for the title. That's where it's all gone wrong, hasn't it?
Well, yeah, I was thinking, Man City came second. No, it's not too bad against the magnificent Liverpool. But then I looked at the table, and in terms of points, they're like nearer to Everton than they are to, in 11th, I think, than they are to Liverpool. And they've, this is a disaster, isn't it, as a season? They apparently this game they've showed 4 players who've scored 10 goals in a single season, which is a first for like 30 odd years, which is good. So they have that kind of depth. But I don't know, Pep Guardiola, will he have the interest? Are we going to see a shock over the summer?
Mm-hmm.
And also with Newcastle, though, poor things. It was all over, in a matter of minutes. But, it's interesting because if they do have these new Saudi owners, we could be watching now the equivalent of the Man City of Paul Dickoff and the likes.
Sean Gota.
Yeah. And within a few years, the Newcastle United could be the new Man City.
Well, there's talk
with a Pep Guardiola.
Yeah, there's talk of Pochettino if the new owners come in. But as it is, let's go back to Man City here, Craig. David Silva, it's his last season. We saw in this game, he absolutely bossed that midfield. He's going to be a tough act to follow, really hard to replace, isn't he?
I mean, we saw a vintage David Silva performance. He's been doing that for years. I think, as soon as Pep came, he took his game to a different kind of level. But I think, certain players with age, you get a bit more mature. You see finer displays. And I think that's what's happened with Silva. I think Pep came at the right time in his career to really get the best out of his latter years. And the Premier League will definitely miss David Silva. Will he be a tough act to follow? I think so. But when you have someone like Phil Foden as your understudy, and Pep has publicly come out and said, look, we're not going to go out in the summer and splash out on a David Silva replacement. I think it gives someone like Phil Foden, and as we've seen glimpses of this season, the kind of potential that he has. He's such an exciting talent, and any other player on that, if Kevin De Bruyne were to leave or if Aguero were to leave, I'd turn around and say, look, it's going to be a tough act to follow. City really have to get this one right. But when it comes to David Silva, I go back to the Kompany one. They still haven't got that right.
Yeah.
Never got that replacement in, and that's been a big factor to why they are where they are this season. But, you know, with David Silva, they have a ready-made replacement in Phil Foden. They have done for a while. And, you know, the kid's just so talented that I actually don't think Man City will miss him.
Arsenal won, Leicester City won. Arsenal under Mikel Arteta. Let's have your first impressions, Cam. Are they far off being a top four side where they belong?
You know, results seem to suggest that they're thereabouts. But when I watch them, they have flashes of not genius, but speed and cleverness. And then, I don't know, they're just a lack of backbone, real conviction, and the real cleverness that Man City in their day, and that sewn together quality of Liverpool. I don't know. I'm really interested to see what happens to them next season, but I think it's going to be a dud.
All right. Well, Leicester dropped down to fourth because Chelsea won 3-2 at Crystal Palace. Bob, Gary Cahill, unfortunately, pulled up with an unfortunate hamstring injury to allow Willian in, and that was Chelsea's first goal. But then Chelsea, when they get going, they look formidable with Pulisic and all the front men and where they play.
Well, they do, especially up front now. Giroud seems to be taking to life there. Pulisic looks a useful player, doesn't he? And yet they're signing these forwards and they're going after more. You wonder where they're all going to fit in. And you do feel that they should be looking at the back rather more because they are shaky. They don't defend set pieces too well. The keeper isn't all that convincing either. So whether they've got their priorities right or not, I don't know. I suspect it's the Abramovich influence. You know, these owners always like to see stellar forwards, glamorous names, rather than the unsung defenders. Hence the difference in price often between forwards and defenders. So I suspect there's a bit of that. Abramovich seems to have rekindled his interest. And really, where are they all going to fit in? I mean, even now, they can't find a regular place for Hudson-Odoi, who's supposed to be the next big thing. And you've got the guys coming back from injury. Abrahams can't even get in on a regular basis. Willian might solve part of the problem because he's coming to the end of his contract and he'll be a free agent. So other clubs might want to snap him up. And I think he's been a sterling worker for Chelsea. It's a little bit unsung, actually. But I think he's a great player.
Been the best player since the restart, hasn't he, Bill?
Yeah, definitely. I think he's been the best, probably the best player this season. I would go that far. Yeah, Chelsea. Yeah, and they're still in the FA Cup, and they're still in the Champions League. Although they've got a bit of a job on against Bayern Munich, haven't they? I don't think they're going to overhaul a massive lead in Germany as well. Oh no, it's not in Germany. Of course, it's in neutral Portugal, isn't it? If they allow it to go ahead. But anyway, I can't see them getting any further there. But FA Cup is a possibility. They've got United. And I think they'll probably get a top four place. I think this form they're in, it's enough to give them a top four place. I think at the expense of Leicester. And there's another team coming up on the rails, isn't there, that Craig would obviously like to talk about.
Yeah.
Can I just say, with Chelsea, I think that next season they're either going to soar like an eagle or crash like the Hindenburg in flames, because you're talking about all these forwards. They need 1,000 forwards because it's pretty much Kevin Keegan football out there. You know, goals for would suggest they're in the right place, but goals against, they're down there with Burnley and Everton. They 2 goals against with Crystal Palace. That's the nearest thing they ever get to a clean sheet. If they don't keep banging in goals, they seem to make no effort at trying to stop the goals going in. So, you know, I don't know. Next season, if someone finds them out, they're done for.
Yeah,
Okay.
even Benteke scored.
It's a national holiday in Belgium, past Belgium. Yeah, Crystal Palace 2, Chelsea 3. Palace are safe. And yes, we should mention Wilf Zaha's goal. What a strike, but maybe Kepa, question marks. Speaking of question marks, Craig Morraies, Man United won 3-0 at Aston Villa. Bruno Fernandes was awarded a penalty, and that's where the question mark is, really, because VAR this week, they've come up with a few dodgy decisions, haven't they?
Yeah, they have. It wasn't a great day for VAR last night, early this morning. And I mean, looking back at that, I've watched it a few times. I still struggle to understand, even as a United fan, to try and justify that kind of decision. I mean, I can understand John Moss giving it. I really can, but, VAR, it's what it's there for, to make the correct decision. They've looked at it. They've looked at it again. And they've allowed it to go ahead. I for the life of me, can't understand how. I thought right up to it was a game-changing decision, because right up to that point, I thought Villa looked pretty good. They looked compact. They were pressing United. United were trying to play the ball out. The front three did really well to close down the spaces, and Villa looked really good. I mean, it was a very organised display right up to that moment. And as soon as that goal went in, I can understand Dean Smith's fury. You could feel it, almost watching it, because even as a United fan, I couldn't bring myself to kind of enjoy that Fernandes penalty here as much as I should have. But, you look at it, like you said, VAR, they had a horrible day yesterday. You look at the Bournemouth Spurs, that was a crazy decision as well. I thought, how Kane didn't get that penalty. I think there was one in the Southampton Everton as well, which raised a few eyebrows. So, yeah, I mean, we bring technology like VAR into this game to kind of improve, the human decisions that the referees the mistakes that they're going to make, and to kind of correct it. But if they're going to be making mistakes like that, what use are they in the game? Really, what use are they? Because they had one job to do, and it's just to get it correct. Yeah, and it goes back to what I've been saying. VAR is not the answer to everything, just because it's another opinion. There's someone up there, at Stockley Park, having an opinion on an incident. So it's not solving anything. I mean, they might as well just let the referee make the decision and let him, put a monitor by the pitch side like they did in the World Cup. And I keep harping on about this throughout the season. I think that was the best way VAR was used, to let the referee who's officiating the match have a monitor, which he has. Yeah, he has a monitor there. Yeah. I still don't understand why we need people up at, however km away from the pitch to make that decision for the referee. He can take however many minutes he needs to go to the pitch side, review the incident on the monitor, and come to that decision, like they did for Nketiah's red card.
Not that we want to ignore Villa here, Bob, but I want to talk about Mason Greenwood, because he delivered again against Aston Villa, and he's 18. A lot's been said about him, but he looks like the real deal now, week by week.
He does, and it's lessening the failure to get Haaland, isn't it? United thought that they were in pole position to get Erling Braut Haaland, the hottest property in football this season. With Solskjaer being a fellow countryman and knowing his dad and all that sort of thing, it looked like a pretty, it looked like a cinch really for Man United to get him, and there was shock and horror when they didn't. But Mason Greenwood is not only replacing him, he actually reminds me of him. He's not as big, he's not as powerful, but the directness and the simplicity of his play, the shooting on sight with 2 feet, very much Haaland-esque. And, I think he's a year younger even, isn't he? I think he's younger than Haaland. He is sensational. The best young English striker to emerge since a certain Michael Owen. I remember him when he came along. You're not that old that you don't remember him, Craig. Not that young, I mean. Let's get it right. No, he does look the business. No question. He could probably save United a lot of money.
Yeah.
So I don't know whether they need like anybody else up front. The front three have scored more goals than Liverpool's front three.
Oh.
Which is not a widely known fact, but they have. They come along quietly somehow. Anthony Martial has perked up considerably and is banging them in now on a regular basis. But I think the fact that they've got a genuine top-class creative midfield presence, which they haven't had for a long time in Fernandes. He's been a sensational signing. They didn't pay that much for him, really. 60-ish, wasn't it? 60 odd?
Yeah.
Oh, worth double now when you look back. And the effect he's had on the rest of the team, and even Pogba. Now he's getting a tune out of Pogba because Pogba's now got somebody of similar caliber alongside him, rather than the McTominays of this world, who, for all his effort, I mean, he's not in the same class as a footballer, but Fernandes is. He's got the football brain, and so you've actually got two players there for the price of one, if you like. Pogba is looking rejuvenated, not quite there yet, but he's been out for a long time, don't forget, for whatever reason. He's still a bit rusty. And I think that the fact that the market has dropped means that Pogba has realized he's got to stay there. Nobody's going to pay 100 million for him now in this market. So he's got to knuckle down and get on with it. And he sees in Fernandes a partner there, and they can do something in midfield, and they are. So it's very exciting for United now, this.
All right, taking a look at some of the other ties this weekend. Craig Morraies, Danny Welbeck scored a spectacular overhead kick as Watford came from behind to beat Norwich. Possibly goal of the season contender for me, that one.
Yeah, where did that come from? I mean, of all people, Danny Welbeck scoring an overhead kick to win you the game. No, big win for Watford. It really was, although I think, anyone that Norwich come up against, it's more or less a guaranteed 3 points these days. I thought, Watford were okay. I mean, I think they'll survive. I've come on show and I've said, I think the bottom three will be the bottom three going down. And I think a lot of teams within that kind of that side of the table, it's not that they'll stay up. It's not that they've been good or spectacular or they've done well to stay up. It's more the fact that there've been three teams that have been worse than them in Bournemouth, Villa, and Norwich. I look at this and you look at when Nigel Pearson came in. He had a real job on his hands. So I think if anyone deserves a bit of credit, it'll probably be him because he had one job. I think they were at the foot of the table when he took over. And he's managed to get them off there, keep them in the Premier League. It's been a really, really good job by Nigel Pearson. He's got them, a little bit more solid. Especially at the start, the first few games when he came in, really made a difference. Don't forget, they were the first team to beat Liverpool this season. They've only lost twice, and Watford were the first team to do it. So, credit where it's due. But I think this is a side that I see struggling next season. I think it'll be the same sort of story for Watford next season, and there's nothing to suggest otherwise.
Well, it probably sacked the manager after about 3 games.
I don't know. I think you mentioned all those other bottom clubs. Watford has probably the most realistic tactic strategy for playing at the foot of the table throughout an entire season. They're not trying to be Bournemouth, which is trying to be, Brazil 1970 on a shoestring budget. They're very realistic, and I think that if Watford survive, it's not going to be too big a surprise. And I think that they could do it for another, couple of seasons if they keep playing in this way. If they start trying to think that they can be something special, well, then forget it. And can I mention with Danny Welbeck, I was genuinely surprised because I didn't even know he was there at Watford. Suddenly, this guy does a Trevor Sinclair bicycle kick, and it's Danny Welbeck. It's like, what is the pitching? Work it out.
I heard Mama Welbeck spat her tea out over the table.
Asking herself, is he still playing?
I didn't even know.
Right, let's wrap up match week 34 results then. Sheffield United beat Wolves, Bob. Now, that was a bit of a surprise. That's kind of knocked Wolves' Champions League aspirations. Well, it's pretty much gone for the season.
Yes, it was. Wolves have gone off the boil a bit, haven't they? Can't score goals. I think that's their problem. They can't. They've been relying on Raul Jimenez. He can't do it every time, and he needs support. And he's not getting it. They haven't really got another striker anywhere near that caliber to come in. So, it looks like Europa League for them again, doesn't it? If not, well, I don't think they can fall out of that position. But Sheffield United have resurrected their chances in Europe. I don't think they're going to get in the Champions League, but looks like Europa League for them probably. Although Arsenal are sort of coming up. It's a very interesting race at the top. It's exactly what the league wanted. With the title was a foregone conclusion, so the best that they could hope for with the season restart was a cracking race for the Champions League places and a relegation scrap, and they're getting both, and it is quite entertaining stuff.
West Ham 0, Burnley 1. West Ham are hovering; they're still in 16th at the moment. It was Bournemouth 0. Tottenham 0, Kam Raslan. No fight this week between Lloris and Son. Happy to report. But no fight from Tottenham either, alas. But VAR in this game again. Yeah.
I have to say something on the most boring match of the lot.
Thought we'd pick you for the Bournemouth 0.
Yeah. VAR. I like the way VAR is going now. I like the reintroduction of the human element. And when it goes to VAR, you don't know which way it's going to go, and you have to live with the results, however crazy. But watching that match did make me wonder, what was it that was so fantastic about Mourinho? What? Why was he what was the genius? What? I couldn't remember, because he's got some really great players there. And we've seen just a very short while ago them produce stunning results. And now it's like, hello? Is he thinking he's in a relegation dogfight and a point is good enough or something? I don't know. Remind me, what was Jose Mourinho all about?
Yeah, who said boring Tottenham?
Well, it was remarkable this game because they were playing Bournemouth, who were really struggling, and they failed to have a shot on target.
I know, right?
I mean, it was just crazy to even think that with England's best striker, England's
but lots of
there,
possession in that midfield area, Craig.
Yeah, and Ross, we've seen a few of those games, haven't we, in the past?
Harry Kane didn't touch the ball, in the Bournemouth penalty area.
Now, here's a question for you guys: If Jose Mourinho remains there, will it be detrimental to Harry Kane's career to remain at Spurs? I mean, should he? They don't look like they're going to get Champions League if Jose stays there, and the Jose project doesn't really help someone like Harry Kane, does it?
Well, to be fair to Mourinho, I think when he took over Spurs, it would have been a big ask, tall order for him to get them into the Champions League this season. So I think qualifying for Europe probably Europa League would have probably been the best thing that they could hope for, but I think getting into the Champions League would have been a little bit too far. But can I just say an interesting stat? And I thought this was really amazing when I came across it. And heading into this game week, Jose Mourinho has picked up more Premier League points than Chelsea and Arsenal since becoming Tottenham manager. Oh. That was heading into this game.
Wow.
So I mean, he's going to have his critics, you know, and you know, we're going to, you know, talk about this game against Bournemouth and how they should have won it, and you know, boring Spurs and possession and all this. But heading into this game week, he's picked up more points than Chelsea and Arsenal.
So here are your match week 34 results then. Burnley with a great win. Everton, Southampton. We didn't even mention Danny Ings, how he keeps scoring.
Yeah.
But
what
at
a
the
finish. What a
yeah,
goal.
absolutely. At the bottom, though, at the moment, Norwich one defeat away from officially being relegated. Villa and Bournemouth, they're still within kind of touching distance of Watford, but they've got to win, and games are running out. Okay, we turn our attentions to match week 35. Then here at a glance are your fixtures: Saturday, Sunday, Monday, and Monday night, Tuesday morning. Man United plays Southampton. Let's start with Norwich West Ham. We didn't really have a chance to talk about West Ham. I reckon they've probably done enough to get out of relegation problems now, because the other teams because Villa and Bournemouth are worse. But this is a chance, Bob Holmes, for David Moyes to actually get 3 points on the board and be done with that relegation talk and get a healthy bonus as well.
And save West Ham from relegation twice. There's something for his CV, isn't it?
Surely that's statue-worthy.
It'd get torn down. It wouldn't last long.
Next to Bobby Moore.
They blow bubbles at it.
What struck me with West Ham, and indeed Arsenal over at the Emirates, is that during this COVID-19 empty stadiums, both of them have an improved atmosphere since when they, as opposed to when they normally have a full stadium. It actually sounds better. Especially the Emirates.
Maybe they should try that then, eh?
They should.
Norwich West Ham is early kickoff on Saturday. So is Watford against Newcastle. Chance here as well, Craig, for Nigel Pearson to kick that relegation talk away for the rest of the season. Just 3 points needed.
3 points and they're safe. You know, I think he'll be telling them that, you know, going into this game. It won't be easy, you know. Steve Bruce has done a really good job at Newcastle. Whatever you want to say about, you know, the security of his job and, you know, linking them with Pochettino and all these big names, he's done a fantastic job in the circumstances that he's had. You know, the 5-0 dropping aside, you know, I think they've had they've been playing pretty well. I think, you know, people like Almiron has come into it, started chipping in with goals. Say Maximum has been absolutely fantastic. You know, I think they might even struggle to keep hold of them this summer. They could obviously do with a striker. I still don't think Joe Linton is the answer. Neither is the White Gale. But I can see Watford maybe getting a point, but I don't know about winning this game. You know, I think Newcastle, like I said, the drubbing aside, I think they've been pretty good. And Newcastle win for me.
Okay. 7:30 kickoff, that one. Watford against Newcastle. Liverpool versus Burnley is a 10 p.m. game. Cam, Liverpool need 3 more wins out of their final 4 games to surpass the 100-point mark. They are already the fastest to reach 30 wins in a season. Can they get better? Will the motivation still be there, you reckon?
Well, they're fielding full squads. They're not trying to rest anybody.
Not Adam Lallana, though, eh?
Nice hairdo. The 100 points, is that a thing? I mean, do you think that would be a thing for them? I guess it's the only thing they've got left. But I mean, I don't know really. They've done it all. They've won. But I think, you know, they'll want to go out with a bang. And against Burnley, God, I'd be so surprised if they get beaten.
Okay. 10 p.m. kickoff, Liverpool versus Burnley. Sheffield United versus Chelsea, Kam Raslan, is your midnight game on Sunday. Both teams will be looking for maximum points here because both chasing European football, albeit different competitions.
Yeah, is the Europa League the kiss of death for clubs the size of Sheffield United? It's a big commitment for them the next season. I mean, do they really want it? But they'll go for it. As for Chelsea and their Champions League ambitions, they seem to be picking up the pace, don't they? And I'm really interested to watch this Chelsea now because I think that there are serious flaws there, and there's always going to be goals in it, for and against. So they're fun to watch, as in it's a little bit kind of fun to watch the Titanic hitting the iceberg.
Do you reckon this one will be close, Craig? Sheffield United, Chelsea?
Yeah, I actually do. I think, just after the restart, Sheffield United really didn't, get into their form. They lost a lot of games. I think it was about 3 that they lost on the trot. And there was talk about them losing their way. How much it was a fluke. Prior to the restart. They managed to find their mojo back. They're starting to grind out their wins, as we've seen in the last couple of weeks. Egan popping up and getting a couple of winners. I think this will be a tough game for Chelsea. I really do. There's that expectation that they need to get 3 points just because of United and Leicester and that fight for Champions League spots. So there is that added bit of pressure on them. Like Cam said, they're great going forward. They're a little bit suspect at the back. And Sheffield United, they're going to defend really well, as they always do, and hope to nick a goal. So it's going to be a really good encounter, a clash of 2 different styles. But when it comes down to it, quality sometimes decides games, and I think that's what Chelsea have, that little bit of quality, with the informed Pulisic and William and Giroud. I think that might be enough to decide this game. So Chelsea for me.
Sheffield United, Chelsea, midnight kickoff. Brighton against Man City, Bob Holmes, completes the trilogy of big ties for Graham Potter's Brighton side. After Man United, Liverpool, why not? Bring City on. It's a free hit, if you like, for Graham Potter now, right?
Well, it is, and he'll be looking at the recent fixtures of City and telling his team that after a big win, City have a big loss, and they've just had a big win, so it's their turn. It's really been a roller coaster since the restart, hasn't it, for City? They've been at their sublime best in patches, like against Newcastle. But they've also
and Liverpool,
you got that in, didn't you?
I had to.
But they've also lost a couple of games inexplicably, and as you said earlier, Craig, this is a catastrophe for Pep. To lose 9 games, that's almost relegation form, isn't it? It's lower mid-table, but they've managed to do it. So you never know what you're going to get with City. And until they sort out their defence, I think it will always be the case. Brighton, they gave Liverpool a bit of a workout, didn't they? After going 2 goals down. And I think that augurs well. The spirit is there. They've got some decent players, and given a fair wind, they could actually trouble City here. But, it's very difficult to forecast a game with Man City this season. You could say Brighton could nick something, but equally, City could win 5-0 and absolutely slaughter them. We won't know until we see it.
Okay, we have to talk about the North London derby then. It's a 11:30 kickoff on Sunday. It's at the Tottenham Stadium. No fans present, but Cam, this is a season where Arsenal are going to finish above Spurs, or can Jose's Tottenham finish above Arsenal? Who for you
Well, I don't know.
is the North London side?
According to Craig's kind of amazing stat, it was,
which is true. I didn't make that up.
okay, which is true. You know, Jose Mourinho has it in him to win this one, or at least do an amazing 0-0 draw. But these are not vintage. This is not going to be a vintage North London derby. It's not one for the ages. This Arsenal team, I don't know. I don't really know who they are. I mean, they kind of like got that usual lots of young French people running around kind of thing. Interchangeable young French players. Whereas Jose Mourinho's got that, I'm going to suck the life out of every human being that comes into contact with me kind of quality. And one, I don't know. Two, I don't think I care.
Looks like irresistible viewing then, doesn't it?
Bob, if you're Bukayo Saka, you might fancy this game. He's been in great form, hasn't he?
Yeah, he has. Another one off the production line, and he's not French, Cam. Or even French sounding. He's another one. He's English, and he's another one for the list, isn't he, of great young English prospects. I think Arteta's done a pretty good job. I would say Arteta has done a better job at Arsenal than Mourinho has done at Spurs. Everyone seems to rate him. You get the feeling he knows what he's doing. He's trying to get rid of Ozil, which I think is long overdue, and Guendouzi. The Arsenal fans can sympathise with that. I think they've identified them as two bad apples in the squad, and the less they play, the better. Even if they have to take a loss somehow on their values. But they're paying Ozil $350,000 a week, which has to be considered one of Arsene Wenger's biggest mistakes. It came in the twilight of his career there, didn't it? Agreeing to that was absolutely a disaster. You've not had a kick out of Ozil since. Getting back to this, I think he was very unlucky in the first couple of games since the restart. Everything went wrong for Arsenal, but they've re-established themselves. And despite having one or two injuries, they're looking better. And there's even a fighting chance of hanging on to Aubameyang. I think it looks good for Arsenal. I take them to win this one.
Okay, 11:30 kickoff, Spurs versus Arsenal. Elsewhere, you've got Wolves against Everton. It's your early kickoff on Sunday. Aston Villa against Crystal Palace, 9:15 on Sunday evening. Bournemouth against Leicester in the wee hours of Monday morning, 2 a.m. And Man United will play Southampton Tuesday at 3 a.m. Just enough time to get a few predictions. We're going to start with you, Kam Raslan. Very quickly, what's your big shout for the weekend?
I think that Aston Villa are going to win a big... they're going to win by a big margin for one game before they go down. And this could be the one.
Ooh, that is a big shout. Bob Holmes, what's your big shout?
A little bit like Cam. I think that there is life in the bottom teams still. I take Norwich to actually go out with a bang and prolong the agony a bit for David Moyes.
That's just cruel. Craig Morraies, what's your big shout?
I'm going to go with Everton to beat Wolves.
Why?
Is that a big shout?
Yeah. I just feel that, Everton are just on a bit of a wobbly kind of run of form, as are Wolves. But, I still see something in this Everton side. I really do. Wolves have been fantastic the whole season, but they're just kind of on a downward slope right now. I think, with Jimenez not really getting the supply, he's not really firing. I think it's kind of affected the whole team. Jota's gone off form, Traore, you just see glimpses of it. So I think, they're there to be beaten. And I think Everton can get a good win to get their last run of games back on track.
Brilliant stuff. Right, that's it. We are done for this week. Many thanks to Bob Holmes.
Thanks, everybody. Enjoy the football.
Thanks to Kam Raslan.
Thank you. Thank you.
And thanks to Craig Morraies.
Thank you for listening, everyone. Enjoy the football.
Indeed. Enjoy the football. We're back on radio on Monday. In the meantime, subscribe to our channel, TFIF on video. Bye now.